I think we're there. Going back, now the meeting's open. We have Jim Sullivan, who's with us to talk about conceptual site plan for the location. He's sent us a proposal, which you have electronically as well as in front of you. So Jim, just walk through, recap our conversation and walk the proposal through quickly. And then if there's any questions by the folks here, we can go from there. If you don't
Okay,
mind.
sure. Very good. So I'm Jim Sullivan, Gary and Helnon in Milford and Franklin. And was on the call with Phil and Jack Hunter. And hi, Ann.
Hey. Hi.
So Phil and or Jack sent me a sort of a concept from an architect, and the discussion was about possibly having us, engineering wise, do some conceptual plans of the site along North Ave there. And I'm familiar with the site. I wouldn't say I've done a lot of work on that site, but I know where it is. I know what we're talking about. And so our intention would be to obviously evaluate the all the zoning regulations and so forth, and do some testing on site for possibly septic and possibly drainage. These are the things I was asked to do, and then be able to prepare information for the soil logs, and then do basically conceptual plans. The thing I talked to Phil about on the site is it it has quite a grade change, as you are all familiar with. So taking the architect's concept and trying to build off of that, trying to determine how we'd be able to grade it or not grade it, maybe a retaining wall. And again, these would just be conceptual drawings based on information. We would pull in information from available sites, GIS sites and things like that. We can pull into our AutoCAD system some LiDAR data, as it's called. We would do the soil evaluation, again, for the purposes of supporting a septic system and possibly drainage to get a sense of what the soils are on site. The other thing, so that would be sort of our work, and then we would put some concepts together based again on the topography on the site, possible location of the well, the septic, etc. Basically, at a fairly high level, but that would allow us to give you an existing conditions plan. We would work with the architect and get their footprint and some of their other information, and then be able to give you a concept or maybe a couple of concepts. The other thing I was asked to provide was a soil evaluation for purposes of contaminants, as you all know, I think probably, but former apple orchard, is that right, Phil?
Correct.
And so we've used the company OHI Engineering in the past. I touched base with them, and he is familiar with, and he talked to me about testing for that type of site. He's done testing for these types of sites in the past. And I have his proposal, which I don't think I shared, but he talks about, needing to do shallow borings, 15 shallow borings to determine the sampling for any contaminants that we used in the past, and how they stand now on the site. And also if there was a known storage area, I believe. He talked about the fact that he's also found if they stored chemicals on site, then you'd have obviously a concentrated area. So he seemed pretty well versed in it. And again, I'll be happy to share this proposal, but that number is included in my overall proposal, item number 3, soil borings and environmental analysis. And again, that's OHI Engineering. They are out of Mansfield. And so that would get you, I believe, some solid preliminary information on the material on the site from us, the environmental concerns, if anything, or analysis from OHI. That boring stuff is all obviously useful as well for the architect to understand, what the conditions are on site. all of that wrapped up, was, 15,350, so $15,350, and 7,300 of that is the, soil boring and sample, 7,350. So, that's what Phil and I talked about, and, the meeting was just about a week ago or so. And I wanted to try to get you this proposal for tonight's meeting, and that is my story.
Any questions from the group?
Yeah, how deep are the borings gonna be?
So the borings, he talks about 15 shallow borings, up to 2 feet deep using a hand auger. He also talks about, 15 soil samples, roughly half of which would be, from 0 to 1 foot depth. The remaining half from 1 foot to 2 feet deep be placed in, laboratory containers and used for, testing. Sample analyzed for lead, arsenic, and organic, chlorine pesticides. And then, yeah, so he says only 1 to 2 feet deep, for the shallow samples.
And plan to explore to see if there is ledge within an area. Looks like we might have to put a holding tank in for fire suppression.
Right. He does not have time in there for, sampling of, or well, no, there's no time in there that I see, for doing a deep, deep or several deep tests for ledge. When we're out there, we'll walk the site and we'll use, as I said, available information, and then take a look at the site itself, and then try to determine where we would test for, say, a drainage basin, for example. And obviously that'll help identify, the material in the ground, and if there's a lot of ledge or a little amount of ledge. But it is not set up right now to do deep testing for ledge.
Mike, is that something we need?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know those granite walls that line the property going down Route 16?
Mhm.
That came from somewhere. They didn't import
So-
it, China.
What will happen is at some point there'll need to be full geotechnical testing of the site for bearing points and soil bearing capacity, finding ledge and all that sort of thing. Typically, that's something the municipality does take on. It usually happens when there's a little more information as far as design work goes. But it definitely is something that will want to be done before the project moves forward in full design. A structural engineer will require that.
Right.
Well, I just bring that up to make it aware, when we built this building here, the architect that we had failed to do a test boring where he designed the holding tank for the fire suppressant that was
Right.
gonna be 20 feet deep. And that's where the ledge was. It cost us an extra $150,000 that we didn't have to do that. to
Right,
get
so
that.
what would happen is that once we have a little bit more information of where we need tests done, they definitely need to be done. You're absolutely right.
Okay, like I said, I'm just making everybody aware.
Okay.
Yep.
Every time the chief and I have been on a building committee, we've learned from the experience.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I fully understand, and I agree with what Michael described. We can, once we do our testing, it'll give us just a little bit of information, and then we can lay some things out, working together with the architect, and try to identify a best spot and best use for the 3 items, that 4 items really: the well, the drainage, and then the septic system, and then the cistern. So, yep.
Mike, from your viewpoint, Mike Petrovic, from your viewpoint, is there anything else we need at this preliminary look at the site?
I don't believe so. I think, at this point, I mean, otherwise you're spending monies that, you don't have a project yet.
Right.
That is, you'll see that when we get the budget from the estimator, that it will have a line item for test for geotechnical testing and have a cost there that's built into the project.
Where will this soil testing, what vendor will you be using, to send the soil?
We don't do that. The town will, the town of Mendon will do that. And that will be your choice. We will just specify where the borings need to be done. That is something that the town will actually contract directly with someone to do. We will just be specifying where the tests be done.
Yeah, in reference to the testing that's proposed for OHI for the contaminants and so forth, he does not call out which laboratory he is going to be sending them to. But he speaks that the regulatory criteria and requirements for Massachusetts contingency plan that it complies. Certainly, I can provide additional information on where he's going to be sending his shallow borings.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Yep.
The Board of Health is involved. We have a standard laboratory that we utilize.
We do have one?
If the BOH get involved, we have
Okay.
state has to be state certified.
Excuse me.
Yep. Understood. This is what OHI does, so I'm confident, they'll be state certified and so forth, but we'll certainly provide that information over to to Phil and Jack.
Anything we're missing here? On this first blush?
Not that I can see, Phil.
Just curious on, when you're doing the borings, are you bringing in a drill rig? Or are you gonna dig them if they're only 2 feet deep,
He
it's gonna
said,
be about 15 of them?
he said that there was a hand auger.
Yeah.
Correct.
So the $7,000 plus is, I would imagine, is for the cost of the testing. The lion's share of that $7,000 would be for testing.
It's also the labor. That's still a significant amount of labor to do all that work out there in the field. So it's both.
Yep. It does call out, it's laboratory fees of $3,000, so just,
When is this likely to be done, the boring, and how will the weather impact that?
yeah, certainly the weather will impact it, depending upon, what's going on in the weather and frost line and that sort of thing. Again, I will defer to OHI on that, but, I talked to him, I told him what you guys were working with and what you were looking for. I presume that is something that's going to be done in the foreseeable future. So I don't think he intended to, wait for quote unquote better weather, so.
Tim, if you could just, on that other question, what lab, if you could just add to him, when would he be able to start?
Understood. Yep. Will do.
Get it. That'd be good.
It seems like other things are waiting on these results moving forward, so the
Yeah.
sooner the better.
Okay. Understood.
Basically, to approve, just go ahead now.
Right.
So, and if Mike and the architect and Jim, you agree that this gets us started here before the heavy engineering, maybe the committee may want to talk about this in a closed session at the end and then make a vote on it.
Sure.
And then we can talk if there's any concerns. But if there's anything that Jim can provide or Mike can provide clarity to, please ask them now while they're here. It'd be nice to take a quick vote on this tonight if we can. Okay. I think that seems to be all the questions, Jim,
You
right
want to
now.
vote now to proceed with this?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. You guys want to do that, we can.
We can.
What do you think?
What's that?
Vote now to proceed with this is one step.
What do you
I'd like
recommend?
to talk about it.
Okay.
I'd like to talk
Okay.
about it, toss some ideas around.
Okay,
I'm not,
well, we can go into a session at the end
Sure.
talk about it.
Okay.
And then, Jim, I'll let you know, what our decision point will be, but I expect it soon.
Okay, very good. And I'll get those follow-up questions through OHI and probably tomorrow, assuming his staff is around.
Excellent. We'll try to get to you as quickly as well, because we have a tight deadline on the project. And thank you for your quick response to the holiday. I appreciate that.
Nope, you're welcome. Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jim.
See you, Michael. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay. Ann, I guess you were next on it. You were before Jim, but you're on the agenda tonight. And I guess I sent a little note to you regarding some of the things we looked at, possible grants and other activities that you sent in an email to us. And I'd like you just to kind of cover that for the committee and then think about next steps. Mark is not with us tonight because he's ill, but he'll be our point person for grants as we move forward. So if there are grant opportunities, we may need to have a separate call with Mark to get things
Okay.
moved. Okay.
Well, I have a couple of ideas. One is through the Green Communities Program, the heating system. If it's electric, like an air source heat pump, something like that. The state has grants for that. And then the other thing is now, Green Communities has opened up for towns that have done all the requirements, which Mendon has done. I think we can also apply for solar. And I think that would be a really good, whether or not we have grants or not, that since you're building the building, accommodate solar on the roof in the design, because that will save a lot of money in the long term. But I want to talk to the regional coordinator for the Green Communities Program so I can get more details on that. So I can let you know about that.
That's great. Excellent.
Okay, good. And Ann, if you plug us into that one, if you plug Mark into it or myself, to start with, once you connect with the regional coordinator to get that moving along.
Okay.
Anyone else that would want to participate in that?
Okay. And then the other areas are, well, the CPA. And one of the things that we wanted to do was to apply for a trail grant next January in a year. And for a trail that would go from hopefully the senior center site, sort of up Muddy Brook and possibly into Hopedale up to Route 131 North Avenue. And so part of that, I think, would be nice by the senior center to have it be ADA accessible. So CPA funds could be used for that. And also it would be just a nice resource to have right by the senior center that, everybody could use. And I think that's about it. And we actually have, the town has should have funds from the developer who bought the property, the town property down the hill, the storage company. They said that they would give the town $40,000 for trails. And so that would probably be enough to have a footbridge over Muddy Brook also, which would be nice.
Diane,
So-
from a walking standpoint, what kind of, you have a walking team that goes to Uxbridge, Milford, Hopedale, but do not walk in Mendon.
Yeah.
So,
Recommended. We really haven't explored too many trails, but we haven't really thought that there was anything really in Mendon for us to use as a walking group. Milford is basically paved. That's a bike trail. But Hopedale and Uxbridge, they are both dirt trails that we walk on, and so they're just wide enough for us to get through, and it could be, it's kind of level, so we're not going up hills and down hills and things like that. There is bridges over the watered areas and things like that. But yeah, there's nothing here in Mendon, so this would be fantastic that the walking group doesn't have to go cross country to go walking.
So Ann, as we look at these trails around the senior center, since Diane really coordinates the walking group at the senior center, it might be good to have her in the design phase, as once we get through this, to really have her input and the seniors' input, minimally for the ADA and potentially the rest, some of the trails we continue to build out in Mendon.
Yeah, definitely. I think what we'd do for this grant is we would have a trail consultant come in and, use like CPA administrative funds to find out from them what they think the best route would be and how it should be done, and especially with the ADA aspect to it. But yeah, I definitely, Diane, I'll keep you in the loop.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Okay, some other areas that I wanted to throw out, Ann, and it's still early phase, but recreational activities like bocce ball courts, shuffleboard courts, pickleball courts, an area around the center that could be for casual walking for the seniors, but also have resting areas for benches and or shade trees be planted there, like a little environment.
Mhm.
Is there a way to get funds from the state and or CPA dollars to do something like that for the 28% of our population?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. And the recreation, we can spend CPA funds on recreation and things like pickleball. What's nice about that is that it could be used for the seniors, but also other people would be able to access it, and it would give you more support, like a town meeting, if you say that that's a possibility,
That's a matter of just scheduling it, so I think we can do that. These
Mm,
facilities, hopefully this would be an area where people would like to come to,
Yeah.
and they walk with their kids.
mhm. Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of possibilities, and some of it might have to be phased over a year or two, possibly. But I think there's a lot of possibilities.
I guess as we move forward in the next few months, let's look at the vision. And maybe it's not all done at once, of course, but let's think about what the vision will look like over a few years. Immediate implementation, phase 2, phase 3, and have a plan that kind of incorporate that area into the trail that you're talking about to North Ave, but also have some recreational activities for the seniors and
Yeah.
for the population at large.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I'll bring these suggestions back to the CPA committee.
Okay, thank you. If you want me to sit in or anything, just let me know. I don't always go to the meetings, but give me a ping, I'm glad to.
Okay, yeah, I'd probably, at this point, it would just be more general, and then when you are more specific about what you're gonna be doing, and hopefully this site will work and everything, then we can talk more specifically.
Yeah, hopefully we'll know quick. Okay. Any other thoughts, Ann, or any questions from the members or committee and or people here?
I don't think so. I do need to find out more about the green communities though, and what we might be able to do with them in terms of the funds.
Mike Petrovic, you indicated that the building design could be costed out to be green, self-sustaining,
Sustainable. Yes.
sustainable, thank you. Will the green community, is that somewhere that the green community gets involved, potentially in a grant? To
I'm
cover
not
it?
sure.
Ann already mentioned that there's some things. She talked about some solar. She talked about the air source heat pumps. So I mean, you're already starting to see some of that there. So the other places is that, National Grid, there's some money that they've got available and grants available when buildings are electric, using more electricity than other sources, and especially if there's solar. So there's that as well, that there's support from them as well.
Yeah, isn't there like some kind of grant for like passive solar buildings or something like that? Do you know?
There's Mass Saves, which is another program that's out there for buildings that are sustainable and kind of high performing is really what it is. So yes, Mass Saves is that program,
Okay.
and that's for
They looked
municipalities.
at geotherm at all? Have they looked at geotherm? Geotherm?
Geothermal is not off the table, but there's so many other more cost-effective alternatives to geothermal. I've got several geothermal buildings in my portfolio, and I can honestly say that I haven't done one in a while because there's so many better sources now. That's a very expensive proposition, and the maintenance on geothermal is pretty high. And municipalities tend to shy away from it for that reason, that, you know, the cost of ownership is pretty substantial on those.
How about ground mounted solar?
Ground mounted solar is a possibility. But the issue with ground mounted solar is I've got ground mounted solar projects and fixed solar. Ground mounted has a lot of moving parts. And so when you're relying on motors and things to change the angles and move things around following the sun, it's there's a lot more moving parts to it. If it's a great solution, but if you can do fixed mount and get the same result, it's just less costly in the end.
It's also nice that you have the opportunity to design your building, so you can design it into the building. Whereas lots of times ground mount is because you're in a shady location and that the roof isn't right on your house and that type of thing.
Exactly. That site has phenomenal exposure too. I mean, that site is perfect for solar.
Mm.
Any other questions? Or? Okay. And it sounds like as you get your connections, and I'll have Mark reach out to you as well, and we'll connect on possible grants that maybe you'll have people we can contact or where to start to search some of these grants out with your experience.
Yeah, and as I get more information, I'll let you know.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'll keep you in the loop, and anytime you want to join, feel free.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks. I think that was the items that we wanted to talk about in just kind of general information. The other things we were looking at is a schedule. We're looking at, Mike, any other input on when the estimator is going to do work on it?
We're on their calendar now. So we've turned it over to them on the 22nd, as we said we would do.
Okay.
So
keep poking us and give us an update as you go along.
we'll do.
Better.
I had a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Do the town still have a capital planning committee?
So it's coming back. So it's been,
We don't have one. The answer is no.
there's not an active committee, but there will be soon.
So I guess the answer is no.
Yes. Well, I believe it's on the agenda coming up, so almost.
It's almost here. Yeah, but rightfully so, all this would be in planning.
Yeah, I just don't want to get so far into the capital planning committee comes in and says, we weren't even,
So Mike Goddard is leading the charge on getting the capital planning committee back up and going. So happily, he's very aware of this project. So
Well, I think what John's alluding to is we want to give everybody the opportunity and the, for lack of a better term, the respect.
yeah,
yes. Oh, I agree. And
We move
we're working
forward.
on it. It's
like, I want to incorporate the
yes,
whole senior center into this, so we know
Yes.
what's going on with that.
Yep.
And if they got a
Yes.
different plan,
right.
we want to know about it.
Yes. So
Exactly.
coming soon.
I think as we go to town, we're gonna have some, I would love to see, I said we're gonna have, I would love to see a definite plan for that location. Or we don't, I mean, that's a must. We
In my
can't,
eyes.
yeah, I think most eyes.
I agree with you, John.
John, we all agree on that. So scheduling, I think it's just, we continue to push along. I was gonna ask Mike Goddard, if he had set up the meeting with Jody, because I think we need to start setting up the financial accounts. Since he's not here, Elena, if you could poke Mike and see if that meeting's moving along.
Sure.
And I'd like to just set a calendar date so we can start to meet with Jody and say, okay, here's the accounts.
Do we have a treasurer in this committee? Did we designate someone as a treasurer?
No,
That's what we talk about, we need that too.
okay,
Because once we start doing bills, we need someone to keep track of everything, someone submit the POs,
And we
someone
also
submit the
need,
vouchers.
as a committee, we'll need guidance. We're gonna start spending town money for whatever,
these guys, the other guys,
right?
we've already started. yeah.
Prevailing wages have got to be taken into consideration. which is why I wanted to talk about it all afterwards.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. We can, any other open discussions, and we can go into closed session if somebody can guide me through that, and we can talk about it afterwards.
I don't think we can go into closed session.
No, I don't
It's
think
not
it's,
on the agenda.
And we can't. And this stuff we would talk in open session anyways. It's not an executive session.
right,
Um,
wouldn't fall under.
it wouldn't fall into any of them, wouldn't fall into any of the four.
Okay, so I don't, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Guide me along, gentlemen.
Why I want to talk about it later is, let's get the business you had planned.
Yeah.
We have to approve the minutes. I'm sorry, we have to do that for pay. So if someone would make a motion to approve the prior minutes that Peg sent out.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, good, thank you. Any new topics that anyone wants to introduce before we go into just the talking? about?
No, I think they'll probably pop up in our discussion.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay, with that, we close the meeting?
No, we
No, we talk about an open session.
Open.
Yeah, it's an open session
Okay.
conversation.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, this will all be public.
Sorry.
Like I said, I want, if we're gonna be,
There's not much you can talk about in closed session. There's very few things. you can-
Okay,
so I guess I'll start.
go ahead, Mike, you got some things in your mind.
I do. I took out, you sent out this information earlier today.
Yeah.
And I was sitting at my computer and I was reading it. That's why I asked the questions of how deep's the boring?
Sure.
Is it gonna be a machine? Et cetera, et cetera. How many? 15?
Yeah.
Someone made a comment that there's a lot of labor involved. Well, what do you think, John? 2 foot, 15,
Yeah, that's
2 foot holes with an auger this big around? They're not
A
taking,
couple hours work,
right,
maybe.
at prevailing wage. So you pay a laborer and a foreman with a pickup truck at prevailing wage for a day. If they can't do it in 8 hours, we got the wrong people doing it, number one. So to figure, ballpark figuring, this is what I do at work, because I work prevailing, a labor costs $100 an hour. A foreman would be, with a pickup truck, 150 to 175. Simple math, I call it caveman math.
Mhm.
That's $800, $1,600, $2,000. My intent, why I like to be on these buildings committee, is I want to make sure the town gets the best bang for the buck.
I agree.
I've been on the finance committee for, how long, Lonnie? 20 years?
No, it's back up on.
Yeah, right. That's when we carved it in stone. And I squeezed a nickel until the buffalo cries. And right off the bat, we have to control every nickel.
I
If
agree.
we can save $1,000 here, $1,000 there, that $1,000 might buy tables like this. That's all.
I agree.
And I do not want to be insulted by someone telling me, who I've been in the business all my life, that that's a lot of work. Maybe I'm a little sensitive on it. And I'll agree that I am a little sensitive on it, but really? 15 holes with a hand auger, 2 feet deep?
I just did soil samples, I took maybe 80 of them up in Uxbridge with a cordless electric drill and 3 or 4 batteries. Core sample.
Yeah.
And I went down 18 inches,
Right.
just having soil sample.
So,
It has about 2 hours.
So that,
no matter who we deal with, we should take them to task on everything.
so what we need to do is what you're suggesting is what I would do with a vendor doing something in my house. I sit down and go through the details.
Right. There's no plan. Nobody mentioned a secondary plan. If they drag their feet on this another couple of weeks, it's gonna be frost in the ground. I don't want anybody using that as it, because if there's frost in the ground, then you drag out a little generator with you and you use a hammer drill, like John said, and you do it that way.
And your prevailing
Not
rate.
for, and
prevailing
that ain't
rate-
gonna cost $3,000.
No, they're pretty, they go pretty good.
I think we're good with weather for the next few weeks.
Right.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
these are the things that I see. This is why I'm here. You guys take care of the.
So they've got it at 70, they've got it at 73.50.
for the analysis and the soil warrant, right?
Yeah.
He said 3,000 of it roughly was for the lab.
Lab
So-
cost,
so
that's
that
why I
means
asked it.
4,350 left
Dig a
over
few holes.
to dig the holes and put it in the cans. And based upon your numbers, that's double. So, and I mean, obviously, Gary Aaron Howland, just like any other engineering firm, is in the business of making money. Right?
Oh, and I don't, and I don't hold that against
I'm not-
anybody.
I'm not getting down that road. But he's obviously putting an upcharge up. There's, I doubt that he just carried that line at all. The only other way to. What other quotes?
You're getting exactly what I was about to say.
So here's our
So-
problem. We need, if it's over, if it's, we at least need to ask for quotes.
Under
You gotta call.
25, we need 3 quotes. They have to be.
You don't
written
have,
document.
you don't have to have 3 quotes.
We do,
You
3
have-
verbals.
You have to solicit the quotes. If they
Solicit,
don't return.
Yeah.
Then,
you have to make every attempt possible to get 3. So you don't have to just solicit 3, you make every attempt possible to get 3 under 25,000 verbally. 25 to 50 is 3 actual written quotes, everything over 50 is out to bid. So I would, and that's, I mean, I do the procurement for the police department, that's what I was trying to get at, that we can't vote on this yet because we haven't done this yet. We can take their quote, not show the money, and try to solicit, as Lonnie said, to get additional quotes and see what they land. And you don't have to go with the lowest bidder, but the whole reason procurement laws are there is to make sure that if we solicit 2 more and they're $9,000 and he's 15, then we know there's a problem.
I can ask for one. I know of one, and then I have somebody called Allen Engineering. And, then hopefully we'll have 3.
Right, I mean, the lab cost is the lab cost. That's why I asked. It's the labor,
Yeah, it's at 40,
it's the physical,
it's at 4350.
right?
But we're supposed to get 3 anyways.
If they
So
come- right, if
that-
they come in
If
at
the other
the
ones
same-
come in, then we know that's the going rate.
But I don't mind anybody making a week's pay,
No, I agree with you.
but I don't want them making a year's salary on it.
But I don't feel
Use that
comfortable
as an
voting on
analogy.
something without having something to
That's
compare it to. Because none of us do
Think
this.
about that.
Like,
If you give them
we're not
a
engineers.
suggestion, they'll say, "Oh, we have carte blanche, we can do whatever we want, nobody's gonna."
Nobody's gonna question.
With that,
Yeah.
Lonnie, you indicated you know somebody you can reach out to?
Yeah, I can check with another engineering firm that we use on occasion. We use Carrier. I can't vote on this anyway, so. Only because I do business with these people. So.
It's not Lincoln. Who's,
But somebody wants to come in.
Okay,
Lonnie, you're gonna call people a little ways?
Yeah.
Good call. That's what I was gonna call.
anyone else have an idea of your thought?
I know a firm of this, I can give them a call.
Yeah, and then we'll also reach out to.
I can forward
call
this to
Alan
him.
as well. So I'll call
The guys who used to work in Uxbridge, I don't know where they work now.
Anderson.
Anderson, but they moved.
They
moved on.
moved
It was,
company now.
Anderson's
Andrews.
gone, but it's,
Andrews, sorry.
Andrews.
Andrews, it's the main guy over there.
You'll call that.
I'll call him tomorrow.
I'll call and,
There we go. Thank you, Mike.
So just, are we looking for the same engineers to do both? Because this is 2 separate ones, right? The soil boring.
The engineer does all of it.
Yeah.
they'll
Okay, so
solicit.
this one, they're
I should
outsourcing.
think you'd go apples to apples, the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, everything lines up.
That's the only fair way.
That's right,
We can take the quote part of it out, tear this page off, and we can,
yeah,
and then we'll give them this part.
exactly.
Let's see their quotes.
There we go.
And then we're covered by the procurement law, so we'll get ourselves in any trouble.
We might save a buck.
Is that?
We'll save a buck.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Or they could come in more, and this could be the cheapest one. And
Right, at least we'll know.
Well, no, yeah.
You know, I just want to say, aside from the price on this, you really do need to do the multiple quotes just for transparency. Everything you do has got to be transparent.
Yeah.
And getting multiple quotes is just keeping it above board.
Anybody that does work for us. Like I said, it's municipal money. Prevailing wage. That you gotta submit, certified payroll. So, like I said, we've gotta get going on that. So that we're all versed in that. If we get in trouble. if
And we had Don before, because Don did it for the schools, and he was great.
Right,
So,
but he had experience
good
with it.
experience, I mean. He's not gonna help us. From Narragansett, come on down. I went to lunch a while ago, I
You know,
tried to, he said no.
Anyone that can do that kind of stuff? That could,
No, I think between a couple of us, we can figure out, I worked enough with Don where I can figure out some of it. And then I can solicit help, I mean, trying to think who else we get on the committee that would know that type of stuff. I can handle when we get to the point, Joe move too,
I know.
I'll move too.
I know.
I can get us to the point to where
Well,
we
taxes are
build, once
too
we
high.
build, we'll have to get someone.
Taxes are too high in this town. These guys are leaving.
Yeah, they're all leaving.
there's some of their houses going to the south.
Yeah.
It's Massachusetts.
Okay. Plan.
I guess the next thing
They
is,
just want to leave their own homes more. Big one. Wants to tax-
we gotta focus on, our main focus is the building, not trails. It's a nice idea. That should be back burner, you know, and work it in. Our focus is this building, in my opinion.
I agree, but I think the short-sightedness of Mendon has always been only to focus on the classroom, the vehicle,
Right.
the this, and everybody talks about good ideas. So I don't want to put it into this project, but I want people to start executing towards this bigger goal. We need that, and if we had a capital planning organization, we would say that that parcel up there could have municipal parking as well.
Mhm.
The front end of it for the school overflow or town events.
Should.
Not part of our project, but it's something that should be considered in a multi-year. So I agree, we need to focus on the building, but I'm gonna poke everywhere I can to get this town to start thinking more about the square 2 acres they're on.
Thinking outside the box.
Absolutely.
Again, the perfect example is this concept here. If you look real close, you can see, it says right there, area for future expansion. I like seeing that. That's the first thing
Yeah,
when I looked at the plan, I said, what's that? Oh,
You can grow,
that's good. That's what we should be doing,
yes.
planning for the future.
Well, you asked for that, Mike.
And the next thing that I agree with solar, that building should be all solar. I don't agree with putting it on the roof. Mike said that it's a perfect location. The house is, you're not gonna twist the house around. So whatever direction you point the solar panels on the roof, why can't you do that on the ground? Especially if we're gonna have, if we go with a building design that we looked at before with all the hips and valleys. You know what I'm saying?
You lose something.
It's like being put in a trash can and say, find the corner. We're going around and around in circles.
So I guess the question would be, though, wouldn't it be somewhere where we need to design it for both, to see what the cost differences are?
Well, it's something to be considered.
'Cause
I
I
don't
want
think
to
we
know.
should be making decisions on.
No, we shouldn't, but we don't know what we don't know, I guess is what your point is.
Right,
You
and
know,
I'm gonna throw out the different scenarios so that we don't.
yeah, because this
Look at
picture's
them
so
all.
direct on it, we don't even know what the roof's gonna look like.
Right.
Pictures or any of that stuff. Yeah.
so I think, I think you folks are on the right track, and I think what you need to do is set a goal for your project. And you're gonna have a design team that's gonna have to model this and prove to you what they're designing is gonna work. I think, I don't think you need to design the building for professionals. They're gonna do it. I think, we're all pretty proud of what we do and we want our buildings to perform. But I think you should really set some good goals. I think what you're doing is great. No one's gonna design or put anything out there that's gonna fail you that way.
100% solar?
That's the future.
Definitely is.
If I wasn't a senior citizen, and if I was 30 years old again, I would put my house all solar, because I have the longevity, I'd have the longevity to recoup the money I spent on it.
Yeah, but if you're old like we are, we all do it.
Yeah.
Right, because we don't have the longevity to recoup the money. I'm not gonna spend, 20% of my life savings, I'd rather, and not get a return on it.
So I guess,
I might as well go to the casino.
You could have the solar in the parking lot here like they do at the school, you know, they built it originally. You know, in the parking lot, why have it on a roof?
but I guess the point being is that the goal here is we want a solar, completely solar
Yeah, I'd like
building.
to see,
And let them come up with the parking lots that have roofs on them or
yeah,
things that move.
Or
or-
something that's, again, we're looking at, what's the ballpark figure? Cost of this project, 9 million? Whatever can fit in the 9 million.
When I had
Well,
my house.
it's better to be enough solar to provide the building with its power. You don't need to provide more solar than what the building requires to run itself. And so the more efficient the building is designed, the less power it requires.
When I looked at when I looked at it from my house, the one it was at 13 North Ave, the sun there is, they said, the best in town.
Yeah.
You're getting at all aspects of the seasons.
Okay, so it sounds like we determined a solar design goal.
Right. Whether it's on the roof, or over here, or over here.
I just like them to look at it, don't just lock into the roof and say that, let's come up with a design of what's it gonna cost the parking lot, what's it gonna cost
We
the
got-
roof.
We
You know,
have
we know
4
what
acres,
the roof design is.
we have 4 acres of proposed for this building, plus another, whatever the rest is. It's all town land.
Here we have, we have more than enough space.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other? Somebody brought up we need a treasurer to start counting the beans.
I think we need one, we're gonna definitely need one once
What's
the building's approved.
When you started.
Right now, I think between you and I, Phil, we probably can
Yeah, we've been kind of doing that.
keep the books together for now. And then once if we get it approved, when we get it approved, we're gonna need a real treasurer then, because that's a big project.
Or a retired accountant,
Yeah, something like that.
somebody that. Again, you don't want me doing it. You want me standing on the site, watching the guys do the foundation, digging the holes, cutting the lumber.
You're not gonna count the beans.
I count beans. I count beans.
I hear you. Okay, so you and I agree, Dave, you and I can probably do that. We've been kind of doing that now.
Yeah,
The last Mike's bill, we took it before the select board, and then the select board said we didn't have to do that for the numbers we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Because,
because we have the initial not approved.
yeah,
Now,
initially,
this money that we're doing, this is coming from somewhere else. We're gonna have to request this, right?
no, it's approved. Town meeting, 35,000 was approved. For seed money for us to,
Gotcha.
Two different
And then,
So that's why it's important.
and that's paying Mike too, right?
expand like this.
So we already paid Mike, and then we got 35.
No, Mike's 15.
Okay.
So we have,
20.
That's why it's important.
That's important.
Pay attention.
Beans at that point, because we spend this, now we got like,
Gone pretty quick.
we got 4,000 left.
yeah, we don't have a lot.
It's
Yeah.
a special account right now, though. Like, why wouldn't we just be going through our operational town accountant and treasurer office, our finance office to
what we
maintain
do.
this?
Yeah, we gotta do POs, so I think this committee hasn't done it yet, that's why I mentioned it today. Mike brought it to the treasurer, we can handle for now, I can show you how to do it, we're gonna have to do, the vouchers, we should be doing the vouchers. And what I think, the interim TA had it, and then one got bounced around, and then it ended up with Jody and bounced around, and I think everybody's been it's not their jobs, it's actually this committee's job, so we need to take over.
Let's figure
I
that
know what
out.
we're supposed to be doing,
Okay, let's figure out how it
We'll do
works.
that.
Between you and I, we figure it
yeah,
out.
we can figure that out pretty quickly.
And the only other thing that came up, Mike, when we were here, was to get a meeting with Jody and start taking a look at the funding. Not only to handle, make sure that we're doing our piece right, the PO stuff, and making sure we don't go over a little budget. But how, what other kind of forward-looking funding?
We're looking at financing scenarios now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's time for you and Jody to talk to us. or get us engaged and work.
I was
with
thinking
them.
the next meeting, we should probably have a draft of some, what it starts to look like.
That would be good.
Well, that's with the tax impact too, getting Gene involved.
That would be good. Because we need to know all those things as we go forward quickly.
Yeah, I mean, she's already pulled different, like 8 different scenarios, you know.
Well, I guess the next meeting, then, if you present that to the committee, that would be good, so we all know.
Might invite her to come. It's gonna be mostly her work and want to take
Oh,
credit. for that.
yeah, well, I was thinking we were gonna invite her.
I'll, since I have access to Springbrook, I'll request access to our accounts for this and have them set up, like I have drop-down menus in Springbrook. One for the PD, one for dispatch, one for emergency management. I'll see if I can get another one for this committee, so I can track our numbers.
That'd be great, because we don't really want to throw the burden on Amy, who's, you know, running fast and crazy right now.
Yeah, no, we shouldn't be putting that on her.
She doesn't have, I mean, she's,
When we did this building, I wasn't doing the numbers for it. It was Don Moore, did all the numbers for it. There was someone independent who kept track of it.
okay, but for this little stuff, if you.
But this stuff, I think we're fine to the point we get to having a building, and we really need to
Okay,
find someone. And it could be even a paid position, a part-time paid position, that we might have to account
Well,
for.
we're gonna need basically what a clerk of the works.
Does the OPM do that?
The OPM didn't do, the OPM, yeah, the OPM watches the building, deals with the payroll, but doesn't watch our numbers completely.
No,
Right
but
now.
they present any change orders,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
But they're not tracking the change orders, so they have an amount that's supposed to be spent. They know what's supposed to be spent, they track it from there. But then once you get the change orders, we had how many, we made a
I
dozen.
used to have a clerk of the works on the job all the time, but I don't know if they do that anymore, do they?
They have the OPM with the clerk of the works, and we had a part-time
It's
one.
more like a superintendent.
Yeah.
Making sure the schedule is being met, making sure, you know,
And it's gonna be one of us too. I mean, Mike's around a little bit. I'll be around. I mean, for this building, I was here every day, I had a hard hat on. I was watching everything they did, you know, so. I mean, right to
well,
the
Mike shall
point,
be there.
right to the point where we caught, the roof is smoking marijuana. You know, they came off the job site, you know, and then the superintendent says to me, well, can they just finish the rest of the day? I'm like, no, you can't finish the rest of the day. You know? Remember that? I was like, what the?
But it's legal in Massachusetts.
it is.
Yeah, it is legal, but so's drinking, but you can't drink. You
drink on
can have a 6-pack and go on the roof. Yeah.
Okay. So next meeting, we can, you'll invite Jody to join us? So next meeting in 2 weeks. Same cadence. Anything else that the team wants to bring up? I think all the subcommittees and all those fundraising, we need to get numbers. We need to get our arms around that. We need to get these holes dug in the ground, so we know we're okay there.
Yeah.
And then we start cooking. I don't think there's any activities or events coming up that we need to go to promote ourselves in the near term. Is there anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, never mind. Karen, we may want to kick into some, you know, every bi-weekly, trying to start thinking about, just start some messaging out towards the end of January, once we get our act together a little more. And then go from there. Okay, that's,
And what's the schedule for the architect to have a preliminary drawing for the building? Size, square footage, what the building's gonna look like?
we have.
That's all part of the report we're gonna deliver. So we've already presented most of that in the past, so I guess I'm curious as to.
I have a
why-
copy. I haven't sent it to you.
No. Oh, he might just not have got a copy, Mike. We'll make sure he gets one down.
Okay, good, yeah, all right.
We'll get one, I'm sorry.
It was more based off of the old site,
Right.
but this site is, this site is close to the same.
But it was something to start with, because again, what we've just talked about is gonna affect what that building's gonna look like, where it's
Yeah,
gonna
of course.
point.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Once the design for one of my biggest concerns is, I'm not looking to be hit with $150,000 change order because we forgot something. Like,
If you get hit with those change orders, we
Right.
haven't done, your architect hasn't done their job.
That means the things weren't, yeah, I would buy that.
Yep.
At that number.
Is this building gonna be a disaster center where you need a generator and the whole?
Mhm.
It's up to the town.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Mark will be bringing that whole concept from the old building to the new building, going from 35 to 125.
Right.
It'll be fully functional.
Fully functional, with showers.
Right.
But today, we're not fully functional. Well, we can put cots in it and feed people. Keep them warm. Okay,
So again, it all goes back to, we've outgrown the existing
Yeah.
senior center, when we present it to the people, we've outgrown the existing center. We need a bigger center. Here are the benefits, not only for the senior citizens, but the town will gain, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the way down to the recreation trails.
Yeah.
But our goal is to keep saying, we've outgrown the existing building.
I think everybody in town knows that.
Yeah,
They should anyways.
yeah, I think we
but
got,
that's a good lead into,
Yeah, no, definitely.
present what, all the other ideas that are gonna.
yeah, if we did not grow, we wouldn't be here at the end of the day. And you're right, we have to make that statement every time we talk about it.
And you outgrew it from the minute you moved in. Like,
Yes.
you just gradually outgrew it. It's like
Exactly.
the old police station, you walked in and you outgrew it.
Yeah.
And that was too small.
Yeah, so in this one, hopefully we move in, we have enough for the senior center, we have some community activity there, and we have growth. And if we need to expand, our kids need to expand, or grandkids need, they can sit on a committee and do this.
Right.
But they can put in that little back end there.
Right.
Okay. Anything else?
I've got nothing.
All right, gentlemen, we're gonna say goodnight.
Thanks,
Good night.
Mike, thanks, Sean.
Right.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Yep, bye-bye.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm
Aye.
sorry.
I'll go shut the recording now.
How long is Steve
Oh,
O'Connor?
I didn't want to hear that.
You know Steve O'Connor? He used to run Andrews for them. And he left and went to the front. So I'll call him up.